I'm Mr. Rosansky, and this is a speed run of Practice Test 9, the second module, the B module, the easier one. So let's start it by getting to our first conventions question and getting it going. I see that this pops an omega consideration. This omega consideration would be pronouns. This is plural. This is singular. This is plural. This is singular. Now, one and you are about consistency because both could be referring to singular things or groups, and we would want to be consistent with those in the text. But I'm mostly going to bias this like a or it since I don't see them in the surrounding text. I do see a customers that I could plug into this blank to see if it works right. After cashiers were instructed to ask customers if whether customers wanted a bag. Customers is plural. I'm going to pick plural and I'm going to get out of that question. Then I've got another conventions question, so I'm going to check for some omega considerations, and I've got verbs. So I'm going to plural, plural, they, singular, plural. I'll bias the odd man out, go looking to the text to find something to support it. Got a common or coordinating conjunction, independent clause. Her writing has been. That's the only one that can possibly be our choice because it's the only thing that agrees in number with the El subjecto. I'm going to check omega considerations again because I've got a verb, I've got a plural, I've got a neither, I've got a neither, and I've got a neither. So I can bias the odd man out and go looking. I've got a to survive, a infinitive phrase, or an infinitive being modified by this subordinate clause. So we've got a dependent clause here. Embryos, prepositional phrase here, embryos inside. Embryos enter a dormant state known as this. I need a complete sentence, and enter is the only one that is a verb that tells me when to form that complete sentence. I've got my omega considerations here. I'm going to do the complete sentence mix up because I see this beauty presented in A. I see a space. I see a lonely comma. I see a lonely Coco. And I'm going to bias this guy and go looking for a reason to find complete sentences, typically an irrelevant word. I've got a notes. This seems to be a subject, but I know it's a participle, reduced passive, because my subject is lower. Underlines, scribbles, and notes. Lower a book's value, complete sentence on the left side. Absolutely. Book it. Then when the former owner is a famous poet like Walt Whitman. This is a subordinate clause. My subject is here. Its verb is there. Subordinated conjunction there. Dependent clause. Not a good look so far, but then such markings, subject is going to be here, modal verb there. Though I often say that our clause needs a verb that tells me when. Modality is also something to be said. It just doesn't roll off the tongue as well. Can, could, may, might, will, shall, should, must. Don't forget them. I've got a complete sentence on the right. Therefore, the only thing that can exist in this environment is this one. Conventions, I'm going to check for my omega considerations. I'm going to look for verbs. I've got a plural, I've got a plural, I've got a plural, I've got a singular, and I've got a singular. Just kidding, a plural. I'm going to, whoa, too many. Probably should kill the one that looks the ugliest. I'm going to bias the odd man out, go looking for its subject. I see a relative pronoun here, and this is its clause. Wow, this is its clause, and this is another relative clause. But who or what is the that? The that is referring to a document. A document outlines the basic freedoms. Pick it and move on. Another conventions question. I love seeing conventions. I'm going to check for my omega consideration. These do be verbs. I've got a both. I've got a they. Just kidding. I've got a plural. I've got a both, and I've got a plural. I am in a weird spot. I'm going to consider tense now. Since there's no neither, I have a future, a present, and I've got a past, and I've got a present. Two presents I'll engage with aspects if I end up being tricked. Adam's in this place, which is this thing, travel. I've got a verb that's in the present. So I like that until they blank, at which point they are. Good. So I know it's going to be at which point until they reach. So I'm going to kill these two options. Then I got these. We've got the simple present, and we got one more layer, which doesn't often happen. So B is the simple present, and then D is the present progressive. I want you to always pick the simple aspect, right? The simple, which would be to this one, the naked one, unless something in the text screams at you. It would be some sort of subordinate clause somewhere. Screams at you to pick this. Now, nothing is screaming at me and nothing is screaming at you. Therefore, reach is going to be our guy. I'm going to check my considerations for my omega considerations, and those fall, unfortunately. So I'm on to step 2. I don't see a semicolon, but I do see this beautiful little dash. So I'm going to bias him and go looking. I see a friend to partner him with. I'm going to read over him to make sure he sounds right. And I'm going to check for this bridge. Rainwater percolates downwards through the earth to collect in a subterranean basin. I love it, and I checked that the thing under describes the thing before, and it is giving the case in which we're talking about the earth, springs, the porous rocks, and the hill. Therefore, I like what's over the bridge, and I like what's under the bridge, so I'm going to pick the bridge, and I'm going to move on. Transition, oh no! We're out of the fun. The ANLA is known for its impressive audio collection. It has more than this. So this is the same idea that we seem to be advancing. I had no sequence clues in the first one. There's obviously no contrast. It's just going to be an in fact. Logical transition. When she accepted this in 2021, she made history. Only one other woman had done this before. I'm adding this word before, even though it doesn't say it. Feels so sequency. The second one, I love the sequence. It's not cause and effect. We can't say that we can't invert when cause and effect happens. Previously gives us our sequence that we want, and that's definitely going to be the idea that we're living in. Transition. First taught volunteer movements they would use to respond to being while asleep. Seems to be sequency. She attached electrodes to their eyes to record eye movements during sleep. So this is before and after. We've got a little bit of sequence going on. We're not providing an instance of the thing before. It's just like the next stage in it of what she did. Sequence. The average length of a green iguana. I like the orange ones. This tells me where, not size. This gives me a size. This doesn't give me a size. This gives me a size. Let me just make sure everything's true. True chains. Identify the year this thing was published. This gives me a year. I like it. This does not indicate a year. This gives a range of time, but I want to indicate the year. This doesn't indicate the year. Let's make sure it's true. This book was published in 1025. Absolutely. Pick it and move on. I want a difference between the two portraits. The portraits of them, this is a similarity. This is a similarity. He has completed a bunch of portraits about these people. That's like a similarity. While both are by him, this is a difference. One is a painting, one is a drawing, and I like this. This is a difference, but it asks for portraits, not a difference between the two portrait artists. So this falls. Let's make sure it's fine. 2003. Yes. Painting. And then the drawing by this person in 16. True. We're going to move on. Easy as it gets. We've got the immediate context clue of his passions. Culminates. Indifference for, I don't know if he's using it or not, so I'm going to keep reading. Another signal element here. Evocatively combined. So he's grouping them then together, so we know that we're just living in a sea of positivity. Enthusiasm is going to be our big. I see how that is. To see if differences, this is going to be my signal element, kicking me onto this direction of the text. Considerable variations, big variations, and have considerable variations, considerable effects. I want considerable effects in this environment. I'll plug my context clue in, and I come up with that. I see nothing over there. I'm going to pop to this side first. Although she don't be knowing when it might happen, she doesn't have an idea. She loosely has an idea that she's going to be speculating. I look for a context clue. We've got this by enhancing the tree's ability, another key nutrient from the soil. That didn't actually help me. The ing it failed me. I need something else. So I'm going to go in this. I see this colon right here. To the left of the colon, I have the statement about a mutually beneficial reaction. I have the word symbiotic exchange. And the fungus does something. It's going to reciprocate because it's kicking it back to that person. I want a main purpose of this text. We'll grab to the first one. Go on, boy. Go on, boy. Winged by heart's desire. Go forth. And it's like positively, right? Go forth positively, right? Positively. He's happy about it. Great reaches yet unknown await you. Great things yet unknown. Great things yet IDK are in your future. I may not, if I would, retrace the way with you. My pilgrim is through. You need to move on. Oh, this is romantic. You need to move on to great things. Playa. All right, I've got what I need. And then let's go looking to the right side. To express that double have the same accomplishments as his parents did. No. This summary, great things yet unknown. I may not retrace. I will not retrace. I'm not going to go with it with you. Retrace the way with you. My pilgrim life is calling you. I could see why someone thinks it's because of the retrace, but the great reach is yet unknown. They don't know what they are. So that falls to suggest that there are many struggles. No, that's like way too negative. This was bars. To run that a child will face many challenges throughout his life. Maybe I like that one. And then to encourage this. Yeah. So I like C and D. It's just just bars of positivity reading through without this. What's the function of the underlined portion in the whole? I'm going to give this a little reedy poo. Employees wanted Ben's. Employers complied. Okay. Benefits. Benefits. They wanted benefs. Benefs. It elaborates on a claim. Ugh, I see it earlier in a text. I couldn't help but just pop and see an earlier text in all of those. I'm going to go one at a time, though. 2 on the table, maximum. We're hungry, but we can't have too much on our plate. Light work on these plates. It elaborates on a claim about labor relations in a particular industry made earlier in the text. It offers an example of a trend in the economy discussed earlier in the text. So I feel like the elaborates on a claim and offers an example are like the same, right? I see that little colon. I want to see if this like previous sentence is about one industry, it's about scope, or the entirety of our economy and a bunch of facets. So increased production quotas gave greater bargaining power to the company's employees, many of whom were in this feels micro, right? Labor industries, the companies in this industry, they were doing this. This is too broad. It notes a possible exception to the historical narrative. Possible exception. It exemplifies the truth. Entered in, yeah. Does not do that. It provides further details about the identity. No, this is not. This list would be like Sally and Bailey and Jocelyn where they're doing things. I'm going to read text 2 first, since I'm going to be text 2 and back on somebody for text 1. Past studies about the white dwarf atoms have concluded certain exoplanets had continental crusts. Whew, that's tough. Okay. Continental crusts. I don't know. Continental crusts. I'm in trouble. I can tell. Geologists and astronomers argue that those studies suck. Okay, good. Stuck because they emphasize traces lithium and other elements as a signal. Okay, I can understand what that's saying. The first sentence got me, the second one I'm fine with. Now I'm on the third one. The studies don't adequately account for, they don't take into consideration that different minerals made up of various ratios or take into consideration how the possibility of rock types not found on Earth. Oh, jeez. I have to slow down for a moment. The studies don't adequately account for different minerals made up of different ratios, or take into consideration different rock types. So we're too arrogant in the fact that we know what these rocks are and what they mean. That's what I'm saying. Too arrogant in what these rocks are and what they mean. That's the claim. Okay. Astronomers identified 4 of these white dwarfs in order to determine the composition of the exoplanets. So this is like one of the studies then. Studying wavelengths of light, the reported trace elements. Okay, trace element, too arrogant. Okay, trace elements such as lithium, they found them, so they claimed to have an idea. I all get that they have no idea what the rocks are and what they mean. As unexpected, no. Okay, hold on. We have so many layers of complexity in this one. Text 2 most likely they characterize the conclusion presented in text 1 as unexpected because it was widely believed at the time. No. Nobody thought that thing. That thing's crazy. I was just panicking for a moment. But everything's fine. As premature, because researchers have only just begun to determine what kind of crust. No, it's about the rock. In my reading of it, it's about elements in rock seems to be where they were most frustrated in or most contentious in. As questionable, okay, because it rests on an incomplete consideration. Okay, yes, yes, they're too cocky about the rocks. I like that. And then I've got to read this last one though from a superficial. As puzzling, as puzzling. I wouldn't say puzzling. I wouldn't say because it's unusual to successfully detect lithium and sodium in it. No, their problem isn't the methodology. Their problem is that they're too cocky. Incomplete consideration. They're too cocky of where they got the rocks from and what it means that contain those. Yeah, I I don't know if I was perfect in my summary of these things, but I really feel good that that thing that I just highlighted here is my support for C and claps back against what it is in 7. Oof, thankfully, a much shorter text, and we can have some better feelings about this. As I look at 8, let's just start summarizing it all at once. How does he feel? Oh, according to the text. I don't know what I'm summarizing. According to the text, according to based on just look for it. How does the narrator feel about being at a summer camp? Let's catch the pace. This feels different than I thought it would be. I'd never been somewhere like this, but I did feel scared, but also I did feel scared. How does he feel? Scared and excited. Overjoyed, peaceful, scared and excited. Angry and jealous. No. Thank you. How, according to the text, another detail, be disciplined. How does he achieve moments of extremely high volume? How does he achieve high volume? How does he achieve high volume? European composers experimented with volume in the okay. They did so by increasing the number of musicians. Okay, but I want to know how he did it, not how they. Right? He might have been a traveler. For example, okay, we're exemplifying something in some operas. He added horns. Oh, so he did that thing. He increased the number with more instruments, and it's all of the same. No, they didn't move anybody by increasing the number of musicians. Yes, we want to increase by building. No, they didn't change the architecture by insisting that singers undergo. No, we didn't need to make them better. They were the best to begin with, I would assume. We want a main idea of this text. Ugh, it's long. Let's go for this first sentence and chunk this sucker out. At 1,000 pages across 2 volumes, the long text by them is presented as complete. Then I'm on the second sentence, though I'm not going to highlight it. The works aspires to be, for example, it is comprehensive, and I spell that wrong, and includes a bunch of stuff. Okay? Final sentence. However, good. However, while. However, I want to engage with that in my main idea. However, is clearly a unique and valuable resource. Okay, so they grant this. None of this is spicy. It is good. The text is it's long and it's comprehensive. They're saying that. They grant that. It's clear you, however, it really is good. It is good. However, it is flawed in that in a classic way. No authorial POV to unite it all. So the main idea isn't that it sucks. The main idea is not that it sucks. It's just that it's lacking a little tech. Okay. The compilers of this had lofty goals for their, but it doesn't, it's not, the problem isn't the information in the main idea. He champions that as something that's very good. The author does. It includes more accounts from people involved with Star Trek television than it does for. Nope, this was not the critique that was presented. The large amount of material in the 40-year mission is surprising given that many people involved in it did not participate. No, they weren't throwing shade on this. Oh, I'm scared. Represents a worthwhile attempt to recount the history of Star. Yes, it totally does that. That was the first part of our summary. Its approach has an important limitation. Yes, the tech was just the shortcoming among oral histories. Gorgeous. Oh, weird one. This isn't supporting a claim. This one is just IDFB43, Recordings of Dolphins. We'll read the title just because, even though I don't think you have to if it's one of these where it just tells you ID FB43, FB43, 1992. Whew. Strongly support the scholar's claim. What's my name? One of the pieces one aim as editor was strengthen the presence of Black writers on their list of publishers. So they wanted more publishers who were, or sorry, they wanted to publish more Black writers. We want to strengthen that claim, so let's go for it. The percentage of authors published by Random House who were Black rose. That's awesome. and stabilized throughout the decade. I love the first part, and the other one, maybe. Stabilized could show strength. We'll keep reading. Black authors who were interviewed in 1890 were likely to cite her novels. No, she is trying to give back to her community, like her back to her the black community. She's trying to enforce them being published. That's just her focus and her legendary status. The novels written by her that were published after were significant. No, once again, it's trying to make me confuse what it was. It's her aim was to support others. Works that were edited by her during this time. Okay, displayed stylistic characteristics that distinguished them from works that were not. So this is her as an editor, but this isn't her fingerprint on them. She wanted more. So even though at first I thought this trick was going to be like the stabilized is technically something that's negative, but that's just not the case. Everything's fine there. I've got question number 13. I want which choice most effectively uses the data from the table to support the research team's conclusion. What's my title? Number and origin of clamshell tools found at different levels below the surface in Neanderthal cave. I'm going to go to the thing. The team also concluded that those tools were more challenging to obtain. Those tools were more challenging to obtain. So I'm going to know which tools we're talking about. So we'll go back one. We'll go back one and give it a read. Clamshells became thin and eroded as they were on the beach, while those on the seafloor are smooth and sturdy. So shore sucks, seafloor based. So the research teams, they loved seashells, seafloor. That the tools were more likely to. Okay, they love seafloor. Also, seafloor was harder to get. Proved by, noting proved by. So I want to prove by that seafloor was harder to get. Oof, we've got tough. I'm going to zoom out. Oof. Number and origin of clamshell tools found at different levels below in the surface of the caves. So let's get into it. At each depth below the surface in the cage, at each depth below the surface in the cage, that's this, okay? At each depth as we go. So depth below, 3 to 4 meters down. I'm just calibrating to make sure I'm not going, oh, geez. 3, 4, whoa. 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. Wow, this is out of sequence. At each depth below the surface in the cave, the difference in the number of tool of each type suggests that shells were easier to collect from the beach than to harvest from the seafloor. At each depth below the surface. I don't know. I'm going to put 2 on the table. The highest number of tools were found at a depth of 3 to 4 meters below the surface, which suggests that Neanderthal population that was highest during the related time period. Okay, I know that I'm trying to prove that the tools are harder to obtain. I don't know how I would get there. That be false for that reason. I still don't understand, but I'm going to read C. At each depth below the surface in the cave, the difference in the number of tools of each type suggests that Neanderthals preferred to use clamshells from the beach because of the durability. No, that disagrees with my claim. Whew, I have no idea what A is saying. But I don't want to rearrange this and think about this, but I can if I have to. Let's keep looking. The higher number of tools at a depth of 5 to 6 meters, the higher number of tools at depths of 5 to 6 meters below the surface than at depths of 4 to 5 meters below the surface suggests that the size of the clam populations changed over time. No, we wanted that it was just harder to get from a depth perspective, not from if clams are there or not. So it has to be A. I don't think I have the firmest understanding of what A is. I'm going to read it one more time, but I just the what they're asking the chart or the text to do are just all off. Clamshells became thin and eroded as they washed up on the beach. However, the team also concluded that these tools were more challenging to obtain. And we can prove that because at each depth level is the difference in the number of tools. Oh, okay, so I don't have to go down just between these. There's a difference, there's a difference, there's a difference. The shells are easier to collect. Yes, absolutely. I missed that at first. I thought it was going to force me to rearrange these. I panicked a little. Forgive me. So we've got our last question. 7 minutes to do it. Easy peasy, easy every time. Let's read this. I see the semicolon. That's probably going to want me to kick back one, but I'll read this. talking about discussing philosophers whose views could therefore about both philosophers, philos, and judges. When a judge has views that differ from philosophers. Okay. When a judge has views that differ from discussing philosophers' views could therefore. So when a judge, I know I'm saying a judge, but it's judges. When judges' views differ from philosophers, what happens, right? So when we're talking about a philosopher that has a different view than judges, what could happen? When we're talking about it, okay. Allow judges to craft judicial opinions without needing. No, we want to talk about them. How could they avoid them if we want them to talk about them? Help them improve the arguments they put forth? Okay, I could see that. Maybe. Make judges comprehensible to reading? Maybe. So let's read a little bit more. Legal and scholar philosophers argues that while judges are naturally inclined to mention personal bias, the best opinions engage and attack. I love it. Like it's saying strongest. So the strongest engage and attack philosophy. Okay. I get it now. Help judges improve it would absolutely, right? I've got that strongest attack. Make judges more comprehensive. It's saying no statement about it. It might even be harder when a judge starts reading ancient philosophy and engaging, or any kind of philosophy, engaging with that. We have no statement about comprehensibility. We have a statement about the strength of the judicial opinion. Bring judicial opinions in line with views that are more broad. No, because it's not just about agreeing. If the person disagrees, we want to know that because we love disagreements. That's why we love this test. Every bit of it's a disagreement with ourselves. It makes us better. Thanks for hanging out with me. 5 minutes left. Boy.